My name is Angèle Laborde, and I would like to welcome you to today's session. During the presentation, your phone line will be muted, so you will be unable to verbally ask any questions to the presenters. If you would like to ask a question, you may do so by using the on-screen chat function, which should appear as a chat bubble in your computer. Just type your question in, and we will answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. If you are calling by telephone, you can always email a question into us and to a member of the chamber staff. I'd like you to send any questions directly to Janet, and her specific email address is janet at greenwoodscchamber.org. Again, that's Janet at greenwoodscchamber.org. Today, we are pleased to welcome our city manager, Julie Wilkie. Julie has served the city of Greenwood as manager since December 2018. Prior to that, she served as assistant city manager for 9 years. We are excited to also welcome Toby Chappell, our county manager. He has been serving as county manager for 8 years. Julie and Toby, we really want to thank you for taking the time to join us today and for sharing the information with our community and our businesses.
Thank you, Angèle.
Our format today will be a Q&A session where both Julie and Toby will respond to a series of questions. After I complete the questions, we will then access the questions that all of you may have, again, via the chat function or by sending your emails directly into our staff. So let's begin. The first question I have is, how have the city and county changed operations due to the COVID-19? And Toby and Julie, you guys can just switch off. So who would like to go first?
I'll take it first, Angèle. For the county's perspective, what we've done is kind of in multiple steps. We started with prohibiting non-employees from entering county buildings. Mainly at the courthouse, we had placed a phone and a drop box inside the airlock so that documents could be passed to departments so they can still process their work. Then we began to address individual employees that had special needs related to COVID-19. And then finally, we took all of our employees, determined who could do their job functions from home and who could not, took the ones that could do it from home and subdivided that group into Group A and Group B. And those two groups rotate weekly for most departments to ensure that if we were to get a positive case in the county, that we would have a set of employees that could still come in and have a continuity of operations. We've also made some other operational changes. For example, the fire department not responding on certain EMS calls in an effort to reduce their exposure. And finally, 911 center, only the sheriff's allowed to go in there now, and that's to harden that vital position that is hard to train someone quickly to keep up and running. So that's a few of the changes that the county's made.
Thank you, Toby. Julie, we'll go to you. What operations have changed in the city?
Well, we've really followed a similar pattern to the county. So I would just reiterate, we've done most of the same things that the county manager has done with his staff in trying to ensure that, like Toby was saying, if you do have a positive COVID case, that you don't have everyone on your staff that has the potential of exposure. So we have some people working from home, and then we have others working in the office to ensure that operations continue to move smoothly. We've waived fees for online payments, so you can make payments online and not have to pay a fee to do that. And from our perspective, things have gone very smoothly, and we haven't seen an interruption in service.
Okay, great. Thank you for those that bit of information. We're going to go on to our second question, which is, what has the city and county done in reference to business licenses, as well as our accommodations tax and our hospitality taxes? How have you altered those processes? Julie, would you like to
from a city's perspective, yes. From a city standpoint, business licenses are due on April 3rd, so anybody with a city business would know that. We've extended the due date for business loans. We have also extended the April and May accommodations tax payments and hospitality tax payments to June the 20th, while still encouraging those businesses, if you're able to go ahead and renew your business license, if you're able to pay those accommodations and hospitality tax, we want you to go ahead and do that, because we certainly don't want businesses to find themselves in a bind where they're owing three months worth of those taxes all at one time.
Okay. Okay, Toby, can you respond to that question?
Sure, and that question is more in Julie's wheelhouse than mine, but we mirrored what the city's done, and we have our payments, while they're not forgiven, I would say they're suspended for April and May, and then on June 20th they'll all be due. So I think the main point of that is we're trying to work with the businesses so they would have some operational capital, but also not doing it in a format that would financially long term hurt the city and the county.
Well, we certainly appreciate those changes that you have made on behalf of the business community. And I do remember that you guys did that fairly early in the process, being as proactive as you could. Our next question is in reference to, I think all of us now understand that this is a ever-changing process, and day-to-day updates happen all the time. So what lessons have we learned since this all began? Toby, you want to respond to what thoughts you have around that?
Sure, I'll give you a few. I mean, one of the ones we learned is that government, while it gets a knock of not being nimble or wielding, was pretty nimble in the way we were able to do things. For example, decision was made to restrict access to our buildings on a Saturday. By Monday morning, when business began, we were able to run relatively smoothly. And I think Julie experienced much the same thing. It was a very quick turnaround on making the decision to restrict access to buildings. Another lesson is that there are a lot of technological resources that we may not have used their full capacity, like video conferencing. You know, I know most people are probably like me. I've been on more video conferences in the last 45 days than I have in 43 years of life. So third one I would say is reinforce the great employees that we have both at the city and county. And many of them have been asked to rotate their schedule, work in the office, work from home, just really have their lives, their work lives disrupted. And they've been not only didn't complain about it, they've been very positive about it. And then you have those employees like EMS and fire and sheriff, public works, that they've had to continue working in their same roles, but their environment has become much scarier and much more rapid, different things that they've had to deal with that they hadn't had to deal with before. So I would say that's three things that we've learned at the county.
Thank you, Toby. Julie, what lessons have we learned from the city?
Well, I would certainly say, and I've been saying this all along, we're going to learn a lot from this about what we can and can't do. But I think knowing, like reiterating what Toby said about how well the staff has just responded and been really resilient to say, we're changing your environment, we're changing maybe even the responsibilities that you have, and to just see how everybody has really jumped up and made it work. And like, I personally have not received one complaint about a delay in service, and I have not seen our productivity drop from our staff at all. Interestingly, you know, we're a little bit different, obviously, as governments, because we have essential services that we have to provide. So the police department continues, the fire department continues, public works department continues. We still have to pick up your trash every day. So, you know, 80% of our staff is really essential. So taking that 20% and sort of tweaking the way that they have had to work has been very eye-opening. And I think we've learned that we can do a lot of things remotely that we didn't realize we could do. Equipment is a little bit of a challenge, I would say. One lesson that I learned is that a laptop is than a situation. This may be that we change the way we buy equipment in the future to make things like this a little bit more easier. Hopefully we don't have another situation like this anytime soon.
Thank you, Julie. I think most businesses would agree with that last comment around technology. Our next question is, what innovations have emerged that we may see continuing after this is over with? So who would like to go first on this question?
I'll go first, Angel. Yeah, to me, one of the ones is what I just mentioned about the video conferencing. Uh, for example, we've looked at the efficiencies that have come from having video conferences. For example, yesterday we had to meet with the town and a utility provider about an issue, and instead of trying to get 10 people to come uptown or us to go to them and coordinate all those schedules, we're all able to log on from our own offices and get what needed to be resolved without losing the commuting time and the other logistical issues that come with face-to-face meetings. And while I don't think you'll see them be totally replaced, I think one of the innovations, if you want to use that term, that will come out of this is I think the way meetings will be done will change for at least the county level. I think you'll see a lot more video type meetings instead of one-on-one meetings. Another one that we've started talking about is the rotating of staff. Obviously we wouldn't keep it in place permanently, but maybe a week or two a year, keeping some type of rotation in place just so that our staff can keep their skills sharp, we can keep our technology up to date. Because the next event may not be a pandemic, it may be a weather event or some other disaster where people have to work from home for long periods of time. And I would say maybe having some type of rotating schedule on a yearly basis might not be the worst idea to have to keep us prepared for these emergencies that come up.
Those are great ideas, Toby. Thank you. Julie?
Well, I would say that definitely the teleconferences have been beneficial. Actually, day before yesterday, had a community meeting with Councilwoman Bowles and some folks that live in her ward that had some concerns they wanted to address. And we didn't have to put them off. We just said, hey, we're going to have a go-to meeting, and here's how we're going to do it. Everybody gets to express their concerns. And I think it's just a different way, maybe of not a different way, but another way that we can engage with the citizens.
Great, thank you so much. The next question pertains to the relationship that you have as city and municipal and county government in reference with our state government. So what steps have the city and county taken to comply with the orders from the governor?
You want me to start on this one?
Sure.
I was gonna start by I don't think George McKinney's on this call because he spends Toby thinks he's been on a lot of conference calls. George McKinney has been on a lot of conference calls, and he has coordinated things very, very well. So if anybody knows him, just tell him we gave him a shout out for what a good job he's doing. But he has really done an excellent job, I think, of keeping everybody abreast of everything that's coming down from the state level. Because I mean, I think the governor's issued 29 executive orders, and sometimes it gets a little bit taxing to keep up with this ever-changing amount of information and how quickly it comes in. So we have collectively, obviously, we've closed our buildings. We have closed parks, not the parks themselves. We still encourage you to go out, walk the trails, practice social distancing, but we did close the playgrounds. And so we're just responding as we can. I mean, like I said, the majority of our services are essential. So, Toby, you can.
Yeah, I would say, Najee, we've done a lot of things like the city has, as far as our parks, they're still open, but a lot of the ball fields are not, the playground equipment definitely is not. One of the things that a lot of cities and counties have had to do is virtual city county council meetings. That's a first for us that we've had to do to try to stay in line with the executive order. Our baseball season's been canceled for this year because of the executive order. So, it's pretty much one of these deals where at 4 o'clock when the governor has his press conferences, we all have to kind of huddle around and watch it to see what the next executive order will change.
That's right. We are all watching those briefings as well. And just for our listeners, if you are unaware, George McKinney is Greenwood County's emergency manager. And so he has taken a lead role in communicating and pushing out information as it comes down to the county and then out to the community. So our next question is one that I know is near and dear to both of you, which is how does the city and the county anticipate that this COVID crisis will impact your budgets?
I'd say from us, I think there's clearly going to be an impact. I don't think anybody can accurately tell you right now how much of an impact it'll be. I think it's actually going to vary a lot depending upon each specific governmental entity. I think A and H tax is where you'll see the biggest impact because they're based off meals and hotel stays. I think obviously they'll both be down with what we've got going on in the community. But for the county A and H tax, we use it to support festivals, and different events like the Festival of Flowers. But it's not an operational driver for us. It may be in other places. I think they'll have a much bigger impact. I think it'll affect the capital project sales tax with fewer businesses being open, but with more people being at home and shopping online, it's going to mitigate it some. How much? I don't think anybody can accurately tell you that right now. Our April distribution of the capital project sales tax was $2.55 million, which is the largest distribution to date. So we were clearly heading in the right direction, but we're just not going to know until probably 3 or 4 months from now all the A and capital project sales tax impact of shutting stuff down. For the county, we're right now writing our FY21 budget, so some tough decisions are going to have to be made as far as priorities and needs, and how do we balance that without putting an additional burden of a property tax increase on residents and citizens. So I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to accurately know right now. I think everybody's pretty comfortable that A and H and the capital project sales tax will take a hit, but will that be offset by some other things? I think it will. I just don't know how much yet.
Thank you, Toby. So Julie, how do you think this will impact the city's budget?
From the city standpoint, we're fortunate in that we're running on our budget runs on a calendar year. So we're not in the midst of our budget process like the county is. So that's kind of a win for us, because we get to watch how this kind of plays out. Like Toby said, probably going to take 3 or 4 months to really see what impact it's going to have, which will then put us in the start of our budget process. I think he's exactly right. The biggest impact you're going to see is in accommodations and hospitality tax. But then you wonder, once people have an opportunity to really get out, are they going to get out and really get out, and you're going to see an increase or not? It remains to be seen. I'll tell you, the city, I think, is concerned too about how business license might be impacted, because the longer this tarries on, the less, the more chance there is that small businesses may not survive. And I know that the federal government is getting ready to push out this phase 4 of the CARES Act money. Some of that's going to come to local governments, and we have to look and see how that's going to help us, help our small businesses, maybe our nonprofits. So I think all that just remains to be seen. It's certainly going to have some sort of impact.
Julie, we actually have had one question come in on our chat function, and I'd like to go ahead and ask it to you now. And it's a topic regarding whether or not we will have the Festival of Discovery this year.
Yeah, I figured that somebody would ask that about 40 times in about three weeks. So, it's so hard to know. And we've been working with the South Carolina Festival and Events Association, and Laura Hudson, who's our Uptown manager, is actually on their board to try to get some guidance from the governor's office. He hasn't issued a lot of guidance about outdoor events. We would like to have the Festival of Discovery. I feel like by mid-July, we're going to be in a much better position than we're in right now. And I feel like it may be the first, outing that we're able to have here in Greenwood. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on it, comply with what the governor the directives that he's going to give. I think it's going to be a slimmed down version of what you're used to seeing. But right now, our plan is to continue with that event.
Julie, thank you. Also, I want to remind our listeners that if you are not on the computer and want to send a question via the chat function, you can also email a question directly to the chamber staff. And that email address is janet@greenwoodscchamber.org. So we've got a couple more questions and then we'll open it up. So again, janet@greenwoodscchamber.org. Our next question is, when is the city and county planning to reopen to the public? and what precautions will be taken. Toby, do you want to respond to that?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start with that. I would start with saying that I think reopening is a misnomer and that neither the city or the county have ever closed. We've always been operational, but we have restricted access to our buildings. We feel confident in our plan, as confident as you can in a rapidly changing situation. What the county is going to do is pretty much reverse the order that we did in restricting access. The first step will be ending telecommuting for groups A and B, and then we'll deal with special needs people that need to telecommute for some specific reason to them, and then we'll open our buildings up to the public.
Okay.
And the question is when to us is not really the plan. We feel comfortable in our plan. You start implementing is when you start implementing it. And, our original plan was to look at it for this week, but with the statewide cases fluctuating like they did last week from a low of 64 to a high of 237, we just felt like the situation was still too volatile to begin the process. But once we reopen, we'll have sneeze guards in place, which our facility maintenance staff has already built and distributed. We'll have some social distancing reminders inside the building, and our employees will be given some type of PPE equipment, whether it's additional hand sanitizers or a cloth mask or gloves, etc. But that'll be determined by their level of interaction with the public during the normal course of duties. But that's what our plan is to reopening. Feel good about the plan, just don't feel good about when we're going to implement it right now.
Okay, Julie?
There's really no reason to regurgitate what he said. The city and the county are just working together on a similar plan. We think it makes sense for us to stay in line with each other. Our buildings are right next door to each other. So we're going to be working with the county, and when they're ready to reopen and we are ready, we'll do that collectively. We're doing the same things the county's doing. We're putting in the sneeze guards. We have the social distancing measures in place in the building. And I think the county got some of these too. There's little stickers on the floor that say, wait here, stay back 6 feet, or something similar to that, just to encourage people to just stay distant. So when the time comes to reopen, we'll be prepared.
And also, I'd like to add from a chamber perspective, we've been pushing out a number of webinars that are providing information to businesses about how to open back their businesses to protect both their employees and their customers with the health and safety in mind. So we'll continue to do that. So if any of our listeners have questions, please feel free to contact the chamber, and we'd be happy to get you in touch and get that information over to you, as well as there's information on our website. So at this time, I'd like to ask Toby and Julie if y'all have any final thoughts or something that may have come to mind that you'd like to share right now. And then after this, we're going to check and see if we have any questions on the chat or if any questions have come in via email. And if not, we will thank our presenters. But let me toss it back to Toby and Julie. Any final thoughts?
None other than, obviously thank you, Angel, for putting this together. It's a great opportunity to talk to the business community about what we're seeing and maybe answer some questions that can help when the reopening globally of the county and community begins, which I think is going to be sooner than later, especially with what we've seen in Georgia. It's going to help that we're all on the same page and we're moving together. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Toby. Julie, any final thoughts?
The one final thought I did have, which really isn't as closing the deal like Toby, but I did want to make mention that we have decided that for our May 4th work session, which is this Monday, we've relocated our council into the courtroom. And so we're actually going to have a regular meeting that will be open to the public. We're going to be spread out in our city courtroom. And so I just wanted to make mention of that. We feel like we can effectively social distance in that space. And so I just wanted to make mention of that.
Thank you, Julie. I am not seeing any questions via the chat, nor any email questions. So I'm going to give everyone another minute or so. And just want to also thank our speakers for joining us today on the call. After, you will receive a follow-up email that'll contain a survey, and we'd ask that you please complete it to provide the chamber with information so that we can continue to provide you with valuable programs and webinars that best meet your needs. A recording of this presentation will be uploaded to the Chamber YouTube page, and a link will accompany the survey. We're going to check it one more time. Okay, we're not seeing any questions. Again, you guys can reach the Chamber at 223-8431 if you've got any questions or anything we can do to assist you. Toby and Julie, we want to thank you for your leadership. We in the business community certainly look forward to continuing to work alongside you. We are all laser focused on recovery for this community and bringing back, our economic sustainability and prosperity to our businesses and our community. So again, thank you all. Everybody have a great day.